Hi everyone, welcome to our Within the Cauldron video series that we're currently doing. Some of you may know us from our Facebook group that we originally started called Within the Cauldron. It was semi-monthly discussions, open to the pagan community, witches, and others, basically, anyone identifying underneath those umbrellas.
The Witchcraft TV network has a brand new show called Within the Cauldron.
Hello, tonight we have a very special guest who happens to be a brother Cabot of mine.
You can join them in real time on their YouTube channel Within the Cauldron or past shows right here on Witchcraft TV.
Nico, we have Chrissy. Hey guys, welcome back to Within the Cauldron, and tonight we have a special topic going on. We're talking about aliens, cryptids, and paranormal legends. And of course, with me, we have the wonderful Chrissy.
Hello.
Amy, and we have a special guest here today. We have Chef Jen.
Hello.
And just to let everybody know, the Chef Jen is a member of a Covenant of the Blessed Lady and also a very dear friend. And she lives off grid, so she knows everything about homesteading.
Thank you. I think that's a lot. I'm still learning, but I do know a good bit. I'm glad to be with you guys tonight.
We're glad to have you here. So let's start off with aliens first, okay? Now, Jen, I know you have had experience with like UFO sightings, etc. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience?
Well, I've always believed in UFOs and aliens, but I never had really seen one. Everybody sees things they think they see in the sky, but my very first experience. Well, first of all, I think I should say that this valley that I live in is really highly known for paranormal activity. Lots of UFO sightings, sometimes even more every year than like Roswell, New Mexico. I have a feeling it has to do with the great sand dunes and the water out here. But as we were moving out here, I live on a 40-acre off-grid homestead. We were pulling the camper over one of the passes called La Vida Pass. It was dark outside, and we were pulling the camper. My friend was pulling the camper behind us, and we were driving another car in front of him. And I saw this light come down from the sky. I thought we were moving really slow, like it wasn't able to move the camper very fast because it was so loaded down, and the mountains out here are pretty steep. So he had these lights behind him, and I was looking in the rearview mirror, and it was dark out, and I saw these lights behind him, and he was CBing me. That was our way of talking to each other. And he messaged me, and he's like, there's something behind me. And we were both tired. We'd been driving for like 3 days. And I was like, yeah, of course there's somebody behind you. You're going 50 miles an hour. He's like, no, they're behind me. And I was so aggravated at that point from being on the road and just being cranky. I turned off the CB. I was like, look, let's just get over this mountain, quit talking. Let's just get over this mountain. And as we were looking in the rearview mirror, these lights that had lowered down behind him, like split and went back in the other direction. We pulled over a little bit after that, and he told me that there was a ship, a craft of some sort over he didn't say a craft. He's like, I don't know what it was. He's like, but it was shining blue lights down on your vehicle. He didn't see what we had seen, the other two vehicles or crafts that were behind his car, but they definitely were following us. I would say that they followed us for about two miles. There's a lot of abductions out here, a lot of things. Just down the road from me, there's a place called the UFO Watchtower where they have like a conglomeration of all these stories from people all over the valley with similar stories of being followed or being like almost like stalked over these mountain passes by crafts that they don't know. So that was my first experience out here, but there's been so many times since then that we're part of a dark sky reserve out here, so the skies are super dark and you're able to see things so clearly out here. And there is not, you could go out on any given night and see something in the sky and be like, what in the world is that? There's a lot of things going on up here that happen in our skies over this valley. I can't hear you.
Mr.
Folks. Okay,
No, I can
sorry
hear.
about that. Okay, yeah, when we spend the weekend out there with you, you can feel the energy is very different out there.
Definitely.
You know,
I really feel like it's like I mentioned that it was, there's a natural water reservoir underneath this valley that I live in, and I believe that energy collects around the water and has memory. And I feel like if you are any sort of paranormal or higher, like UFO type things, you might be able to sense that energy as well.
yeah,
The natives that lived in this valley didn't even live out where I live because of the energy levels that are out here. You can definitely feel it. It's palatable. Is that the word? Palatable? That word that you can feel it when.
word.
Yes, you can feel it when it's out here. People don't understand. Once you understand that the valley is full of all these weird energies, you can kind of let it go into you and out. But until then, a lot of people can't stay out here very long because the energy is so high.
Yeah, and you can feel it too and everything. I've never been to Roswell, New Mexico, but they said that's very high energetic for aliens too. Um, but where you live at, yeah, I can experience that. It's really different and everything. Do you ever get kind of creeped out sometimes because you live in 4 mountain ranges that you can see 360, so you kind of right in the middle of everything. So how do you feel nighttime? Like kind of leery, like oh my gosh, they're
So,
out there.
if you know anybody from Appalachia, but they have this saying out there that you close your windows at night and you don't look out. And that's pretty much how it is with most of the locals. Most of the people where I live to some degree off grid because there are no services out here. It's pretty remote. Like I said, the natives didn't even live out here because there was such a high sense of energy. And here I am, you know, this very white looking Mexican girl plop my ass down in front of all, in the middle of all this. I had no idea though. I had no idea. Um, I do get scared. I play ambient music at night because there's a lot of noises that I don't understand. There are so many urban legends about skinwalkers, um, Bigfoot, cryptids, things that look like. I think Nico called it a rake at one point. That when we were talking about the thing that I had seen before.
Yeah.
I mean, like the paranormal thing. Like there's almost. I'm on all these little local pages for Facebook out here, and almost on a daily basis, somebody will post pictures of. Did you see that in the sky last night? What was that? It's pretty. It's an incredible place, but as a witch, I try to make peace with it, knowing that they are just like I believe that I'm here for a good purpose, and that nothing. Maybe call it blissfully unaware. I believe that nothing will hurt me as long as I'm on my property and I'm being a good steward to the land. I really feel more protected here now. I don't know about everybody else because there's a lot of people that go missing out here, but I really feel safe here.
That's good. That's really good. I know one time my husband and I was doing a paper route for extra money. And no, I mean, we had something that was like above us, and we can feel and hear like a buzzing and everything. And we looked up because it was, really dark, and we saw like a silhouette of something circle, and it chased us. It chased us for yes, it was above us, and it chased us for probably good 10 minutes, I would say. And we was driving our van, and all of a sudden, the van locks was going up and down, locking them by themselves, and their radio was nothing but white noise. And it's like, oh my god, we both looked at each other and
Oh
thought,
my God, were
oh
you
my
so
god,
scared?
this is yeah, we were scared because we thought it wasn't the first time, I swear they're coming after us or something. They want us. But yeah, we was really scared, and all of a sudden it just stopped. Then the radio, came on, and the locks stopped going up and down. the headlights, got really bright, and it's like, okay, we're safe, But it happened another time after that too, where in the middle of nowhere, the radio stopped. The headlights just went out, but the engine was still going and everything, and we couldn't turn the headlights on, so we had to stop. And then the locks kept going up and down again. And my husband is like, this is it. We're doomed. This is it. They're going to come and get us. And then all of a
What
sudden,
do you think they're doing at that time? Do you think they're just like if it was an actual like alien, do you think they're just like checking you out, like you would a deer, like you tag it and check them out, see what they're up to, and then send them on their way?
I don't know. Maybe they beamed us up for a minute or something. But I mean, because they say that like like it's like 2 years up there on like a minute down here. So I don't think so, but I don't know. Maybe they was checking us out. I don't know. But the third time we was in the backyard and all of a sudden we just saw something like 2, 3 UFOs just like going by. It was like probably almost dark. And that was it. It was like a V shape just going by. And we kept thinking, oh, that's jets or something. But it just disappeared all of a sudden. So we didn't know. How about you, Nico? Do you have any
I have
experience?
one. We were out camping in, I think, rural Valentine, and we were setting up tents and got the fire going, and we were, telling stories around the fire, and one of the kids looks up and is like, "That don't look right." And we're all looking up and following this flashing light that's in the sky, and we're in Nebraska, and we're nowhere near the airport. The airport's 4 hours away from us, so there really shouldn't be anything up there at that point. And it was flashing uh, red, white, and then it went yellow, and then it went green, and we're like, okay, that it went from this might be a plane to like these aren't aviation colors, and it was just like this little like cluster of like three little balls that were like connected and like floating.
Mhm.
And then we're like freaking out, and this is before we had cell phones, so of course nobody had a camera with them, and I really wish we did. But just this multicolored little set of balls, and then it just blinked out. It was stationary. It moved, I don't know, maybe a mile or two in the sky, and no noise, no nothing, and then just blipped out of existence. And it was really weird.
That is what happened to us. I forgot. I just remembered. One time we was coming home from a friend's house, and some other friends was following behind us, and they called us up and said, "Look to your left." And we looked to the left, and there was like a UFO. I mean, it was kind of a strange shape, but it was right beside us in the field, and it followed us for probably 3 minutes, probably.
Oh, it was more than
Or
that.
maybe more than that. Chris said it was more than that, but it followed us, and then all of a sudden, it just zoom up in the sky. We didn't know what to do. We just kept driving and kept looking over there, like, okay, yeah.
Oh yeah.
We're not going to stop and anything, but yes. So recently they had a UFO hearing.
Yep.
Now I didn't get a chance to hear about it. I mean, I heard about it. I didn't get a chance to watch it. And Jen, you said you didn't, but Nico, you said you did, right?
Yep. I watched some of it live, and then I watched some recap videos, and I have some notes.
Oh, good. Well,
Because
why
it
don't
was
you tell us about it?
intriguing. So that was the 13th of this month. They had a hearing in the Congress, so sworn under oath. And this encompassed a Dr. Tim Gallaudet, who's a Rear Admiral for the U.S. Navy and former deputy of the administration of NOAA, Mr. Louis Alonso, former defense official and senior intelligence officer, Michael Gold, former NASA associate administrator, and Mr. Michael Schellenberg, who is a journalist who worked with the cover-ups of the UAPs, which is unknown aerial phenomena. And
This was the second conference, right?
yeah, this was the second conference, and they're claiming that the government is fully aware of UAPs and that there's a direct cover-up involving this, that aliens have existed on our planet since before humans existed on our planet,
Absolutely.
and that they are coming out of the water is kind of the gist of it. But they went on to describe a couple things that were extremely mind-blowing to me. They had plenty of encounters of military personnel encountering, things while flying or ships over the water. But they had a woman on there that was talking about what they're classifying as UAPs aren't necessarily like what we think an extraterrestrial is, but that these are a being that is so far past us as dimension-wise. These are like fourth, fifth, sixth dimensional beings.
Yeah.
And that these ships that we're seeing aren't artificial, that these are a sentient living creature that is shifting into our reality. And that they were talking about how these things accelerate and that our fastest aircrafts can move at about 36 Gs. Anything past that and the ship physically starts to fall apart, and then you have mortality rates with the people inside them.
Yeah.
They're estimating that some of these objects move at a speed in excess of 3,000 Gs. So, so far beyond anything that we can physically accomplish. And they're saying that they theorize that this is done by these objects moving through proximity, so they're actualizing and moving through reality by their own will. So they are forcing themselves through will at this speed. So they believe that these are sentient objects. And
Crazy.
that's extremely intriguing to me.
Yep.
Because it went from, we're being visited by things on other planets to a whole quantum physics scenario where, and then they're claiming that we have alien technology that they're reverse engineering, and that other countries have alien technologies, and
well, honestly, they've been doing that for decades.
Yeah, I heard that they had
really
a hold of that for a while.
The stuff, conspiracies, all this time is now kind of being leaked as in a slow trickle, as hey, you were right, kind of thing. Yeah. I love that.
And they just blew pretty much every alien conspiracy theorist out of the water, and we're like, yeah, everything that you think is going on is going on. The difference is they're not just in the sky; they're living in the ocean,
and they're
interdimensional. We know where they're at, and they're interdimensional, which brings on the question of: are these interdimensional beings and spirit guides, angels, and things like that we as practitioners work with?
Did you hear about how a lot of this, Nico? Did you? I don't know if you've heard, but I watched a video about how they think that a lot of like God and a lot of the stories in the Bible were really aliens guiding mankind.
Yeah,
I
like
don't know if
Moses and the
you've heard
manna, and how we still have no concept of what manna was, and how these people sustained in a desert in a
Yeah.
journey that would have
And
taken
how the
them
two
a
angels
week
that were
for 40
escorting
years.
Jesus from the tomb, that they didn't have wings. They took him up in a little ship.
Yeah, well, in
Yeah, that
the
was
biblically
angels.
accurate, I believe it's the seraphim, which is a giant flaming ball of eyeballs with an infant on fire inside of it. And the biblical passage of "Be not afraid," but it was mistranslated from Greek, which was "Please stop screaming."
Oh my god.
When I
That's
found out that it
like
was a
gonna be okay, you
mistranslation,
know?
and
They're
I
just
was
gonna
like,
do some
you
experiments
know,
on you.
it's scary enough when you're like, don't be afraid of this horrifying flaming eyeball bowl. But it's even worse when it's your only response to you seeing it is stop screaming.
I have a theory about why I feel like this is being leaked slowly into. If we start talking about this in little pieces, you know, I've been talking about it for years about how there's life. I mean, and I've always been told I was crazy, you know. And now that it's cognitive dissonance, so people, even if you're presented with the facts of something to be true, if it goes against their core beliefs, they cannot fathom it. So I feel like they're leaking this into with this conference just a little bit at a time, so it's being talked about. They're like, and when people be like, "Oh, there's aliens in the ocean," people be like, "Oh yeah, they've been saying that for years." It's not as much of a shock, because if you were to release this information as a general, if whatever president is running the country comes out and is like, "Look, we are not alone. They are way beyond us. We don't know what they want." It knocks off every sense of stability that every single person has. Their belief that we are the superior beings, that we have. It knocks off everything that we believe. They're going to have to reevaluate, which is why they can't, because the world would go into chaos. I think.
Yeah, well, like after
I
watching
agree.
the conference, it really made me reevaluate some of the theories out there about spirituality. Specifically, like they're called the Anunnaki, which is supposed to be a group of 12 aliens, for lack of a better term, that were like extremely technologically advanced, and that they interjected into the human DNA at one point and accelerated our evolutionary process.
Isn't that Nibiru and Planet X? That's where they're from.
Yep.
Yep.
And then through people like there's a guy on YouTube that does channel messages from a ET called Bashar. I don't know if you've seen him, but he's been doing channeled messages and does a show where he answers questions about all kinds of things, and he'll do predictions and everything spiritual.
It's really amazing, actually. I watched a lot of his videos, and they're very like enlightening.
I
Is he
was
the
really
bald guy?
skeptical. Yeah, he's the bald guy. I was really skeptical at first about some of them because it's like, okay, like I'm always leery about like the light language, like ET people, because as much as I love the spiritual community, there's certain aspects in some of the new age waves that borderline so close to what I considered like spiritual psychosis, and it's like I'm gonna just take a step back from that, and now I'm reevaluating that because it's like there's so much that we don't know, and the weird thing with the Anunnaki involvement is that they implemented part of their DNA into humanity to accelerate them. And the theory is that this is what we call the RH factor, the RH negative factor specifically, which accounts for about 10% of the population. And then in the UAP community, the people with Rh negative blood are more prone to being visited by aliens.
Which
And
I am Rh negative and I've never been visited. Sorry, guys.
but it also gives you a bunch of other weird things,
But
like
it also gives you like supposedly like extra like psychic powers and stuff
Yeah,
like that. Like
you're supposed
sometimes
to be
you
more
just
psychically
know
attuned.
things, and you have more of like the clairs are more like Rh negative and stuff like that. I heard.
And that it kind of feeds into that whole, I don't know, and this kind of deviating a little bit off track, but the indigo, the star seeds, like the people who are, that, because I have always known that I was indigo. I am first wave indigo, born swinging. You know what I mean? Never really
I've
fat.
been told I was an indigo child, and like I have a love-hate relationship with indigo children, crystal children, and like rainbow children as a concept, because it was originally steeped in a way to spiritualize and explain away people on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And so I disliked it for a while because it comes from a kind of ableist place when it's associated with people on the spectrum.
Right. But if you go with the core value or core characteristics of the people who are to feel a sense of home with those names, like when I got introduced to what indigo was, I was like, that really is me, and I really feel like this has really never been my home. I've always looked like I don't fit in. This is not my place. Like I was put here. Live out.
I think a lot of people who are Rh negative, I think that's what a lot of people have talked about, is that they feel like they don't belong here and they feel like they're just like existing here, like they're kind of lost souls in a way.
I agree with that. And then
fight some I feel like the indigo kids are cycle breakers. I feel like there's a lot in Gen X. The Gen X, I feel like there was a bunch of us in Gen X, and even a little bit earlier. But I feel like a lot of them I've met have also been Rh negative. Like it's kind of crazy. I didn't know that was a thing until as I got older. I was like, oh my gosh, all these people have these commonalities, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take it off subject, but that's okay.
Chris wants to come on and talk for a bit. I'm going to change seats, so just hang on.
I just want
to. Hi, Chris.
Hey, hon, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see that good. I see all of your face, but I can't make it out. It's really fascinating about the subject is, have you guys ever heard of Billy Carlson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Watch his channels, especially about the Anunnaki. And especially look at what he is saying about Christ. And he's talking about aliens and how they're all interconnected. It's really fascinating.
Oh, yeah,
I think Billy is the one who has this list of the different races.
There's different races from different planets.
And there's 37 races of different species of aliens that are coming. And they're not just little green men. There's the Palladians that look like us, and the Anunnaki and the reptilians, and there's so many of them. And I mean, like,
it really fascinates me because lately I have been chasing, truth. Truth is just like I go batshit crazy. You know what I'm saying? Mentally, because it's racing through my mind. I'm RH positive, negative. I'm an Aquarius, and I know when bad things are coming my way. You know what I'm saying? Psychically, I know it. My connection with it chasing the divine. It mystifies me of how many people are just truth bound on this subject alone about aliens and Anunnaki. What is the truth of the old gods? You know, I can speak about it. I did the other night, but I was giving out, last night, giving out, goddesses that change to the form of energy that the subject, because it does deal with our old gods, and I'm oath-bound, so I have to put it in a way where people can understand it, but they have to chase to mystery to actually understand what I'm talking about because of my oath. But this subject is fascinating. I was talking to a Jehovah's Witness back in the late 80s, mid 80s, about angels. And he brought up the subject of UFOs. Back then, that's what we called it. Unidentified flying objects. And he asked me, "What do you think they are?" And I go, "I don't know. We have seen them in all. I remember going out on my back porch, sitting there drinking some beer, and having to go to the bathroom. I live in Iowa. What do? Got to go to the bathroom and go visit nature. And I'd be standing out there, doing my thing, and all of a sudden I would see this light. It would go up and down, and just keep doing it. And it was fast. It wasn't no helicopter. It would just go up and down, up and down. And, I'll finish my business, and it would be going up and down. All of a sudden it would start going left to right, and I'm sitting there watching it. And every time I opened up the back door, I go, "Chris, come here, check this out, man." It would disappear. I mean, it would just go, it was gone. I mean, blindingly, it disappeared. That's how fast these things move. And this happened for years. Chris kept on saying, "You're just drunk. You've had a few because, you're just seeing things. I know better because I've seen it when I was sober." And this happened for years and years. Well, anyway, this guy, when we were talking about these UFAs, whatever they call them, he made a remark that kind of stuck with me because what if they're half fallen angels? Because that's what I see him at, and I'm sitting there going, "Yeah, it could be," but it stuck with me. I had a conversation with Raven Grimas. The subject came up, and he thinks that, well, I don't know what he thinks now, but at that point in time, he said very low. So, Anunnaki, or are they type? What do they look like? It's really fascinating to me. But that's all I wanted to say. Food for thought. Are these the old gods coming back, or are they half fallen? Are they truly aliens, or are they our masters? It's really fascinating. But hey, I'll let Chris take over, okay?
Thank you, Chris.
Love you guys.
Love you too. Even on that, it's there's another interesting thing that occurred. I believe it was 2022. The white buffalo prophecy is suspected to have been fulfilled from Lakota tradition, which is the white buffalo woman came down and gave the sacred rituals to the Lakota people, and this involved a sacred pipe, and she told them that I'll come back when a white buffalo calf re-enters the land. They also have a constellation called the White Buffalo constellation, which encompasses Orion's belt, which has the Pleiadian star constellation in it. So some people suspect that the white buffalo woman was possibly a Pleiadian. Well, 2020, a white buffalo was born on Yellowstone Reservation. And here we are having more and more sightings of UAPs and these disclosures. And there was one here that I saw yesterday that was an airport. They had airport footage in modern times of this metallic blue ball floating a foot off of the ground next to an airplane. And it's like an hour-long recording of this thing, like, sitting there and floating, and then it just shoots straight up in the sky, and it's gone.
Cube-shaped ones, the ones that really get me are the ones that they've had the footage of lately that are cube-shaped, and they're
The
like
ones that I've seen the cube, the ones that really wigged me out, they're calling them the jellyfish, where they're seen over the water, and it's like kind of a little dome on the top, and then they have these like appendages that like trickle down. And if anybody is a fan of the Fallout series, it looks like a damn claptrap, and or like a jellyfish. And it's weird because it's so far different than, the triangles and the squares and the domes, spheres, the regular UAPs that we see. And then there's people, I saw one that it looks like a pill. Like it's a big cylindrical with the ends rounded. And it's just interesting that there's so many different shapes of these vessels. And
what got me in the conference was when they said that they had biological evidence.
Yeah, they said that they not only have biological evidence. There was a leaked Roswell documentary, or at least leaked Roswell interview, supposedly with this ET that they had, and
there's like 4 interviews that has.
So I watched it, Nico, and I felt like I kind of felt like heartbreak for this alien.
Yeah, so
I felt
they
so
kept this
awful
thing
for
alive.
it.
Yeah, I made her watch it. I made her watch it.
Like, and it was really sad, but that one was the premise that it was a gray, I think.
Yeah.
And it crash landed here. Its partner passed away in the crash, and they autopsied it. And they kept this thing in a little box and interviewed it for years.
Was that J-Rod?
I believe so. They interviewed this guy for years, and it ran out of food that it had, and they recovered food in the ship that it ate these little black pills that melted in its mouth, and apparently when the military tried them, they didn't melt in their mouths. So they were trying to figure out like what was different about their saliva that these things dissolve. And then it ran out of food, and they're trying to figure out what this thing eats. So they're going through a bunch of food, and apparently it could eat some vegetables, and it ate a diet consisting of mostly vegetables and stuff, and water. But it eventually succumbed to what I'm assuming probably was like slow poisoning, because it wasn't meant to eat our food. It wasn't meant to be here that long.
Is that the one that was recorded like years ago and it had really great news?
Yeah, it was like from the late 50s.
Yeah.
If you go to YouTube and if you put in like alien interview, there's 4 parts, I think 4 or 5. It will give you each part, and you can see it, the whole footage of it. And it's really sad because it's like this alien was like dying, and this one guy just kept answering these questions for me. They would take you to your ship, and it's like it was horrifying. I really felt bad for the alien because I'm just like, God, just let him go back to the ship and go with them or something. Just don't let him die.
Well, that was one of the things I don't know if it was true or not, but that there was an exchange in some CIA documents that they stated that they had an exchange program where they had a biological alien that would stay here and answer questions in return for 12 soldiers being transported to wherever this home planet was. It took a year to travel there, and they were there for an additional year and sent back. And this was a part of like some cross informational thing that they had done. And I haven't found any sources to like prove or disprove it, but it was really interesting.
What
And
were they? What was their mission while they were there? Just to answer questions, or
technological reverse engineering. They wanted to see what technology they had and government systems, and just do like a study of this home world and how their structures worked. And
as far as that reverse engineering thing, that's where the name Foo Fighters came from. The band Foo Fighters. In World War II, the Nazis had these ships that and the Americans called them. I don't know if they called them the Foo or something, but that they created aircrafts that could fight these things that seemed to have advanced technology. And there was always, like, one of the conspiracy theorists said that Hitler had reverse engineered and was in cahoots with some of these aliens, and that's why they had the aircrafts that they did that were more technologically advanced than what we had.
well, that was the interesting thing is like this conference they had. They're saying that not only does the U.S. have a biological alien and bodies, they have alien technology and have successfully already reverse engineered alien technology, and that other countries also have similar, where they have the technology. They may have alien bodies. Mexico at one point released images of what they claim to be an ET, which was like a three-fingered gray mummy, and that was really big. And it's been really, really interesting.
I feel like that's why there's all this race between the countries to have advances in outer space, is because
Yeah.
there's a lot to be gained from that, and the knowledge behind that. Yeah, I feel like that's why it's with everything else that's going on in the world. Why is that so important? That all of us are, all the countries are, besides all the wars that we're in and the financial crisis that we're in, they're still dumping so much money into space exploration and getting phone calls. And I know that has to be part of it, is because they know a lot more than what they're telling us.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they do. They have a
And I
bunch
think
of secrets.
I'm interested to see, because they've alluded that there will be a third part in this UAP conference that the Congress is putting out sometime next year, I think. And that there should be some interesting things coming out. But we're at a point right now, I think, as a society, that there's just so much going on that it didn't surprise me that it really just blew over, where they're like, the government just acknowledged that aliens exist. They've lived here forever. They're in the oceans and all of this other crazy stuff. And everybody just went to work the next day, and like, we still have to pay taxes, and
What did you think? Some people, I was like, did you hear what they just said? Did you hear?
Current political climate and like conflicts around the world and everything going on, and everybody was like, okay, whatever. And it blew my mind.
I think like for my generation though, like we've had so much going on. I think for us it's just like whatever at this point, because I think we also have like an exception, like we accept it, like we know something's out there. Everybody's been talking about it forever. So
we do have a comment. Eloise, she said, I believe we're being controlled by the vampire venom matrix. It's interesting. What do you guys
Interesting.
think on that?
There was a theory a while ago that I had read that with how many missing people have or get reported each year in America, and how that very interestingly corresponds with the natural cave system that falls in line with most of those areas. That there's something that may be living in the caves that may be feeding on people, and whether that's vampires or some kind of cryptid, wendigos, you name it, alien abductions. I'm open to the possibility of any of it, but I think in modern times, what we consider vampires is kind of glamorized. Well, sanguine vampires do exist. They're not what Hollywood portrays.
They
And
really realized it.
yeah, it tends to be more of a spiritual practice than it is like this crazy, like immortal, like vampire stake thing. But I absolutely love vampire mythology too, though. And
Well,
then
Nico, we got a lot of vampire friends out there.
yeah, yeah, but
We do.
they live human lives.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
do.
none of them have shown me substantial evidence that they or claimed to have lived for hundreds of years, or you know that there would be signs. You know, there would be like a generational wealth and plenty of things that would be very interesting. And then Darthos said, "No riots in the streets." Yeah, there was nobody rioted in the streets. Nobody tried to burn down the Pentagon. Like nothing like that.
It's. I think we will get more information from probably the government about this, about UFOs, or what do you call that, UAPs now. So it's really interesting what's going to be happening in the next year too. I'm all for it though, because I always think the aliens was always here in a way. It could be any one of us that are aliens, right?
I just want him to have good intentions. Coming here, I want him to have good intentions. That's all. Because there's that theory, that we are a farm for other species, that they're farming us, and I hate that thought. That's scary to me.
But yeah, there was some declassified CIA documents that were talking about the concept of religion being put in place in some cases to maintain what they referred to as the vessel, and that the body wasn't important, but they needed to maintain a purity to a certain point, so that they altered what religions considered for taboos and things to maintain the purity of what I guess we would consider the soul, which was slightly concerning. But some of the other release documents I've seen, like Project Gateway, which was the remote viewing, that one's really, really interesting, and I recommend anybody spiritual look into that, because they walk you through the meditations to do this remote viewing, and this remote viewing isn't just extent to like this present time. They're able to view other times, and it was really interesting because they had an account where they made a man view a latitude and longitudinal location without telling him where it was, and they told him to look at 1000 BC. The location was Mars of 1000 BC, or it was 100,000 BC, and he viewed what he claimed was a dying civilization on Mars. And he talked to people. There was a man who was aware of him. and they have these sketches of like different structures, vehicles, all kinds of stuff. Super fascinating.
I totally believe there was a civil. You guys know, anybody who's been on my Facebook page for the past 10 years knows that I highly believe, that there was a civilization on Mars that was
I do
wiped
too.
out when the atomic bomb hit, and and we tested back in, when they were testing all the bombs. That's, I believe, and now it's been about that amount of time that the things that are still alive on Mars, because I still believe there's life on Mars.
Well, there was that little kid in, I think it was Russia, who claimed he was a reincarnation of a inhabitant of Mars, and that was interesting too.
All these conspiracies, I was going to get one of those T-shirts that said all those times. I can't remember the exact wording, but all those conspiracy theories that you used to make fun of me for, because man, I used to get some shit for some of
yeah,
them.
I had a nickel for every time that you laughed at me and I was right after all. Like, I'd have more than one nickel, and that's
I'm
weird
not
enough.
crazy.
I tell people that all the time. It's like, I'm putting this up here as proof, because I'm going to come back in 10 years and I'm going to say, I told y'all. I see.
Oh, yeah. It's like they finally did that with fluoride in the water, where they're planning on removing fluoride from the water because they did a recent study showed that it releases cognitive impairment, and
You need a certain degree of it from somewhere.
it's needed in like tooth care, but drinking it, you're not supposed to ingest fluoride. It's a poison. So it's supposed to coat your teeth, and then you're supposed to spit it out, and then it like mineralizes over the teeth.
Huh.
But it's in regular drinking water. But so many of my witchy friends have done like filtered water for ages. They're like, I just don't like the taste of the regular water for one reason or another.
Water that I drink hasn't seen the light of day. It comes up from my artesian well, and it hasn't seen the light of day since the dinosaurs. So that's what the locals say. I don't know how they know that, but I know that it comes from pretty down deep, and it's it's artesian, so it's been thousands of years since it's been seen the light of day. So do I need to get some fluoride somewhere? Am I gonna croak? Like
No. Yeah, Lisa's right. There's a study spiritually that it calcifies the pineal gland along with some other things, and that's why a lot of people start out with all of these like profound psychic senses as kids, and then it goes away. As well as the encouragement from parents, the dismissiveness and things like that.
Absolutely. I was going to mention
and then
something.
we have to go through the process of decalcifying and like spiritual activities and things like that to like get it going back up. But we have cryptids to talk about too, and other paranormal things.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Jan lives in this area, like I said before. She have seen some really crazy things out there.
Do you want to tell us about that? You've encountered skinwalkers, right, Jen?
Yep, I was just going to say, I think skinwalkers was one of them.
Different events out here in the 8 years that I've been out here that will always. There are two. First one happened on my property, and that was when my friend Dan was out here, and he passed away while he was living out here with me. He was an extreme camper, and the day before he passed away, he was parked out on my property, and I live in a great expansive area. I don't have neighbors for miles, and he told me that he saw a black cloud coming towards him that moved. It was winter time, so there was no reason for there to be a black cloud out there. He's like, had it been June, I would have assumed that it was a cloud of bugs. Like, sometimes you could see the big cloud of gnats or something that are in the distance a little bit. But this was more like a slow moving dust devil that moved towards him and through him and moved away. And it was black. And it was wintertime when this happened. And he looked at me and he said, he's not a man who exaggerates at all, and I believed every word he said. And he looked at me and he's like, I felt like it was looking for me. And the next day that man passed away. And I always thought that was his, like it was a spirit that was looking for him, kind of like a forewarning that death was looking for him. So that's always stuck with me. And then the other thing that's really stuck with me is, like I mentioned before, that there's always been a lot of urban legends out here that involve skinwalkers. And I tell this story a lot. I think I've told Coven this story several times, but I was on my way home. It was winter. We're in extreme weather climate out here, so a lot of times in the winter we get down to 25, 35, 45 below zero. We were on a very desolate part of the road. This was me and my ex. We were driving down the road. It was dark. There was no reason for a person to be out there. People don't walk out here at nighttime. There's just no reason for you, no matter what time of year it is. But especially in winter, you're not walking outside out here on the road with no coat, with not the proper attire. So we were driving home. It was probably 10:30 at night. Very desolate part. No side roads, no cars, no houses. Nobody lives in that area. And there was something that was walking on the side of the road in the ditch. No, the ditches back then were a little bit deeper than they are. They've remodeled the road now, but then the ditches were probably 4 feet deep. So, this thing was in the ditch, but it was reaching over the shoulder. The shoulders weren't very wide before they remodeled it. We were driving. There's a lot of transient people out here, so we just assumed that it was one of the homeless people that were walking. But it was still weird because, you shouldn't be walking out here. You risk exposure, you risk coyotes, you risk whatever might happen out here. You just never know. So there was no reason for this person to be out there dressed like they were. So the closest that we got, I got over into the other lane. I got down to maybe probably 40 miles an hour because, I didn't want to hit him. I didn't. As we got closer, I noticed that this being was leaning over the shoulder, and it had something in his hand like a rag. The rag was like a off-white color, and it was so close that it almost touched the rear view mirror or the front quarter panel of my car. It almost touched my car. And I just remember thinking as I passed it, I was like, now for it to be in the ditch where it was and to be almost able to reach my car, that thing would have had to be at least 8 foot tall. 8 foot tall. I didn't say anything after I passed it because I was really just concerned about how long the arm was, why that thing was out there dressed like it was, because it looked like it was wearing a smock of some sort. Like, if it would have been a female person, I would have said it was like a short one piece tunic type shirt, went down to maybe like thigh length. But it didn't have anything on his arms, and his arms was really long, and it almost touched my car. And I passed, and it was like a minute later, and I looked at my partner, and I was like, did you see how long that thing's arm was? And she's like, did you see its face? I hadn't even looked at its face because, I was concerned about why it was trying to touch my car. Why are you trying to touch my car? And she said that the face was all stretched out, and it didn't have any hair. It was like a pale white-ish color. So, I was so scared. We were pretty fresh out here. I hadn't even been out here a year. I came home. My 14-year-old son was here. It almost made me leave this valley because I was so scared. I didn't know what to do. I lived in a 10 by 12 shed that didn't even have a door. I couldn't even see out or in, like I'm out here in the middle of nowhere with no protection. And I kept thinking, what would I do if something like that was on my property? In my adult life, have never seen anything like that before or after. So I'm on a reality show. One of the days that we were filming, they wanted to talk about this skinwalker thing that I saw. So we went down to the UFO watchtower that I was mentioning earlier, when we've been talking, and we were filming talking about this skinwalker. the lady who runs the UFO Watchtower was listening to my story about what I saw, and she brought up all these different little articles and books about not books but notes from different people over the past 30 years who have seen very similar things to what I've seen in the same area. The main difference between what I saw and what other people had seen, though, is that mine was standing up straight and walking like down the side of ambling on 2 feet. And the other people who had seen it, they were on all fours. It was on all fours and it was running next to the car, which would have taken that scare level for me up to like a whole nother level. But still, the fact that I felt very validated in the fact that I knew that I didn't even tell people about that. Like I'm a pretty level-headed girl, so I'm not going to be going out and telling people all this, but that was definitely something, and I've never seen anything like that. And it was right after that that I got a gun and put some extra security on my property because I still to this day do not know what that was, and it was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and I had a similar experience. Me and my boyfriend were driving up to his hometown up in South Dakota, and we're in the like backwoods, like we're 50 miles from the nearest town. And we always drove up at night. I would get off work, and then we would drive up, spend the night, visit family, and then leave back during the like 4 or 5 at night. And we were driving up and see this. It looked like a deer at first, and it was off on the ditch, and it didn't look quite right. The deer's head was too floppy. It looked like somebody had hit a deer, and it had broke its neck, and it jumped into the ditch and came back out, and it was up on 2 legs, and it was huge. Like it went from this was like a very sick looking deer to a pale, like white figure that was really tall, and did the same thing. Like it stood there on the side of the road in the ditch, and was eye level with a car. And it didn't reach out to our car, but it was just so freaking unnerving. Where it's like, what the hell was that? And we're driving late at night, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'm gonna pull over in the next town and get a coffee because I'm sleep deprived or something. And then my boyfriend, we went to the gas station, and my boyfriend's like, "What the fuck was that?" And he's a total skeptic, and he's like, I don't know what that was, but what?
Isn't it weird how your brain doesn't let you process it? Like when you see that, I almost went through this like, you didn't see that, and then second guess yourself. Did I see that? And I mean, like it takes me a while to process. If you ever have the experience of running into something like that, I've never, but it was almost enough for me to make me leave.
Yep.
I think the only thing that we have seen, or I should say heard, we didn't ever did see it, was Bigfoot or something like that, some kind of cryptid. We went out to a campground to go out there. Kids went out there all the time to make out, drink, whatever. We was out there and we heard like a howling. And of course, my husband and his friend had to go look to see what it was and everything. And they came to this barn, and they saw like an 8-foot person, and it just kind of like took one step off the haystack, just like one step, and it was on the ground. It was like a dog man, he said, and they started chasing my husband and his friend. So they ran. I think his friend said that he came across of a dead cow or something, a corpse. What was it? Oh, it was a
the
one.
tale's going to be told, and it should be by the
Okay, go ahead.
Me and my friend was out at a place called Chatfield near Powdertown, Iowa. We walked down to this area, and it was almost not even dark. And it was back in my party days. This was like the late 70s, early 80s. And, he had a joint. He wanted to smoke it up. So we're sitting there inside his barn, and he smarked up the joint, and he handed it to me, which forced me to turn my head, and I caught something off my peripheral. Now, inside this barn up against the wall, they had stacks of hay. And to give you guys a good idea, if you guys have ever been around hay, they stack it like 7 or 8 up, and they move to the next row. Well, it was down to the last of this one wall, which was to my left, and I saw 2 glow-in-the-dark eyes. I stood up real fast. I go, look. It was the scariest thing I've ever paid witness to. I mean, right there. My buddy didn't believe me. I go, no, look. And he turned around and he looked. We saw the eyes going up the back of the hay. And I'm talking like 4 or 5 feet. You see the eyes going up. And a human ain't going to do that. There's no way that they can climb like that. And my buddy was first out the door. He ran, headed back up toward the car. I ran to the doorway, stopped for a second, looked behind, and those eyes were like red. I mean, you're desperate. It's one of those things that you just don't forget. And I shot through the door and I ran my butt off. I hit an electrical fence that was like knee high. I jumped over it real fast, and there was like a big spot. You know what I'm saying? I left my tennis shoes behind. I didn't care. They stuck in that big crap. And I just ran my butt up that hill, and never went back down ever. It's a very haunted place. Now, if I were to go to the other side of that park, I was out there, and we saw reddish eyes, but it was like floaty, surround the car. You're freaking out, and you're trying to start the car, and it won't start, and you're going, holy crap, man! I've only been here a few minutes. Let me out of here. But yeah, there was like several pairs of eyes on the left, right, on top of the car. You couldn't hear them climbing on top of it, but they're looking through your front windshield and your back windshield. And I had a buddy with me, and I think Chrissy was with me, and it was very scary. But the car wouldn't start, and finally, after trying it again, it started, and we got the hell out of there. But it was like I couldn't explain what it is. Now I go to another part of that park where we thought we would be safe. Something lifted up the rear end of the car and shoved it forward. Yeah,
That's scary.
It was very scary. You would think that I would learn after 3 times not to go to that. Well, anyway, I told a family member and a friend about this story. So they, and I go, I wouldn't even, they go, well, let's go out. And I go, I'm not going there. But I wouldn't go out there unless there was a full moon and a coat of snow on the ground. They go, why? And I go, because you can see whatever that is moving around. You can see anything on snowpack with the full moon. Anyway, these guys went out there, and they came back to me white faced and going, "Yeah, you tell us the truth." And I go, "We need to go back out." I go, "I ain't going out there unless it's daytime." Well, anyway, we went out there. I could see where they was walking and where this thing was walking. Dude, I'm telling you, there was dog prints out there, bigger than my hand. When this thing was walking, it was walking upright because of the way that the footprints was. It was very real, very scary. I mean, I tracked that thing for a good 4 miles through the woods. It never broke stride. You know how you see a dog that the front foot will go to the rear foot as they're moving forward. This was like a human walk. There's no doubt in my mind. I've spent most of my life out in the woods. And yeah, it was very undescribable. There was a tree at least 9 foot up, 10 foot up, where you could see where something took like sharp claws, was sharpening its claws. There was a dead cow. You could tell that something was eating on it. Yeah, it was crazy. Well, anyway, I'll back out now because I don't want to take up you guys' time. But it was a scary event.
And there you have it.
Oh,
truth.
man. Oh, man.
So, yeah, that powder town is in Iowa, and it's very creepy. A lot of supernatural things happen out there. And there's a campground not far from it, too. If you're brave enough to go camping, it's an experience. You can hear things during the night. Any other stories that we can tell us about it?
Oh,
I'm going on an hour and 15 minutes, so I just don't know.
I mean, I've got plenty.
I'm sure you do, Nick.
I'd like to be involved in another conversation if you guys. I love these conversations. So if I can work it out, I'll gladly come back.
Absolutely.
We can probably do a second, even third segment.
Yep.
I think we are going to try to do it once a month if we can, because I know they're very popular. People like to listen to stories like this and everything. So maybe next time, and maybe next month, we will get together again. And Jen, you always come on.
Jen, you should join the Paranormal live with us.
Yeah. But right now,
we would love to have you.
I think right now we're going to stop right there to continue on yet another time next month. I just want to say subscribe. Find a group on Facebook called Within the Cauldron.
Please like the video.
And please subscribe, like us, share us as well. You can also see the podcast on our YouTube anytime you want to. We also are now on witchcrafttv.online. If anybody wants to jump over there and see us too, we're going to be on Monday night at 8 p.m. So,
or you can see Nico and I on TikTok.
Yep, and you can find me on TikTok under @CrystalHeathen, and I go live generally on the weekends, sometimes some weeknights. Do paranormal lives, talk about witchcraft, you name it, we cover it. All things spooky and witchy.
We love
and
it.
Jen has a TikTok too.
Yeah, just look up the off-grid kitchen witch. You have to put the in front of it. The off-grid kitchen witch. If you're interested in knowing anything about kitchen witchery, homesteading, off-grid life in a very paranormal valley. How's that? How's that for an introduction?
Perfect.
That is
Thank
awesome.
you for asking me. It's been fun. I always love hanging out with you guys.
Oh, thank you. We always like you hanging
I
out
love
with
you,
us.
Jen. Love and light.
But on this Thursday, on December 5th, we're having Mike Nichols on for an interview. So please do not miss that. That's going to be 8 p.m. CST time. Once again, that's Mike Nichols, an author from the past, but he has never been forgotten. So we are really excited for him to come on. So until next time, subscribe, please. We see y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys. Stay blessed, less stressed. Have a great day.
You
Yep.
too. Bye.